All right. Hey, Daryll, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. First up, how was New Year? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. No, it's been good. I train in Italy, which most people kind of gathered. So my coach allowed us to come home for like the week, which was really nice because I'd been in Italy for like 10 weeks straight. So I needed to get out
Mhm.
and just kind of break it up, see my family, come home. So it was nice to do that with my dog, come home and get a bit of a break. I went to Cornwall for New Year's, which was nice. I was invited there. And yeah, it was just nice and relaxing, kind of going into the new year in the right energy with the right people. And yeah, just a really chilled one.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah.
And so far this year, you're not still in Tenerife, are you? Or are you still in
Yeah,
Tenerife?
I am. I'm literally, you're balancing on my suitcase because I'm in the middle of packing.
Oh, right, okay.
So
Oh, great. I appreciate you
I've
squeezing
got
me
like,
in.
it's fine. I've got like three suitcases open in my room and it's a mess behind here. But yeah, my last day here, I travel tomorrow because I'm getting ready for Karlsruhe, Germany, my first race.
Okay, so you flying straight from Tenerife to Germany? When is Karlsruhe?
Yeah, it's on 27th, so I've got 4 days.
Okay, so you're flying straight to Germany, and then from Germany you go straight back to Italy for training.
Italy or London. I've got a few admin things to do, so I'm gonna see. But it will
Okay.
be back to Italy, back to London, and then I have Turin and Berlin. So I'm
Okay.
kind of doing a couple races, yeah.
All right, fantastic. And how did the camp go in Tenerife? Like, how's your preparation going for 23 so far?
No, it's been a success. It was nice to just like get into the sunshine a bit and kind of just prepare for what this year is going to be. Training was really good. We did some testing out here. I know I'm in good form, in good shape. I'm stronger than ever. I've been PBing in the gym and like in the tested runs we do here. So I know I'm in a good place and yeah, just feeling really relaxed and focused for this season. I feel like it's nice to kind of get away for 3 weeks in January to just kind of get the mind ready,
Mm.
body ready. And, being in a nice camp environment is always good. Can just
Yeah,
home it.
for sure, for sure. I
Yeah.
guess like it reduces some of the distractions that you might face in just kind of like
Yeah, just little
like
things like having your meals prepared for you, just being in a hotel and just having that kind of relaxation, a bit more intimate environment as well, like sharing it with your training partners and stuff like that. So it's nice, just kind of lock in. My dog, he's not here, Melon. I miss him so much. I've dropped him off in London, so he's with my family. He loves it. But it's nice to even kind of just get all this time to myself now and kind of just really get focused. So
you're
yeah.
not on mummy duty, like
Say that again.
you're not on mummy duty at the moment.
I'm
Like
not
you
on
could
mummy duty right now, but he gets FaceTimed every day. So yeah,
all right, okay.
we catch up. But yeah, I miss him.
And that was one of the things I want to ask you. Obviously, I know you've been based in various parts of the world and not
Yeah,
literally just kind of go in there for a couple of weeks here and there, like you've been full-time based in different parts of the world.
yeah.
And so, and how far has Melon gone with you? Like, how well traveled is Melon? I think that's a good question. Let's get down to the issues. How well traveled is
It's a good question. I love questions about Melon. I can talk about him all day.
he?
But he's very well traveled. He's been to Florida when I was training in Florida. He came out back and forth, back and forth. He's been to Italy, Paris. He's been to quite a few countries. So he's well traveled. His passport gets a lot of stamps and he loves it. So it's nice because I got him in 2020 during the whole lockdown situation. And
Mhm.
there was just so much going on at that time. I was training in Florida in my ex camp. And it was just the perfect time for me to kind of get my dog. And we spent so much time together. And to be honest, in that time, I really was able to get how am I trying to explain it? I was really able to become at peace with myself
Mhm.
and kind of figure out what I wanted to do with my life and where I wanted to go. And I always talk about the pandemic because I feel like it was such a crucial moment for everybody, but especially for me, I was able to really home in on myself, my energy, and just crack on into 2021.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that was, and we'll kind of come onto this in a little bit because I feel like for me looking in, obviously I've known about you for a long time, but I feel
Yeah,
like coming out of that period was for me like when it was really like, oh, okay, she's really on the scene kind of thing.
yeah.
But we'll talk about that a bit later. But before we start that, so is Melon American?
No, he's a Londoner.
He's a Londoner, but so you got him in London, took him out to America. Is it difficult traveling with a dog? Like, does it like are there lots
No,
of
it's
there's no paperwork and stuff to Do you need a
There's a
visa?
tiny bit. It's super super easy. I feel like they make it seem like it's the hardest thing ever, but it's super easy. You got to do a research. So you want to get a breed that is able to go on planes, but also
Right.
they need to weigh a maximum of 8 kilos between the hold bag and them. So he's tiny. He weighs 2 kilos.
Oh wow. Okay.
So all in all, when I put him on the scales in the airport, he's like 2.5.
Right.
So
Okay.
he's fine. He just goes under the seat. But you want to get a dog that can fit under the seat, and you don't want to put them under the plane in the belly. Like,
Yeah.
bit of research, but it's really not that bad. You just get them a passport. And for example, if I take him to Italy, his ticket is like 40 euros extra. So
Okay.
it's not bad. Yeah. And yeah, he loves it. He loves traveling. Whenever he's on the plane, people are like, "You had a dog on here that whole time." We had no idea.
All right,
It was
better
my
than a
little
baby. That's what it sounds like. Better than a baby. In my experience of traveling with a toddler, like that sounds much easier.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's doing all right.
all right,
Melon's
I'm gonna
doing
trade
well.
up. I'm gonna trade in my daughter. So, and is travel something that you enjoy? Because obviously, as I say, like you've been located different places. Do you find that sort of is it like a perk of the job kind of thing? The way that you see it, is it something that you enjoy?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I haven't counted how many countries I've been to, but I can imagine it's quite a lot.
Mhm.
But I love traveling. I feel like that's definitely a perk of what I do, getting to kind of experience so many different places, meet so many different people, experience different cultures. Even living in the States was so different for me. I'd been there a few times, but I mean, living there is a whole other thing. And then now having to move to Italy, that was another culture shock. So it's nice, like getting to know the language a little bit. I'm not going to say I'm Italian because I'm not, but picking up little bits of the language here and there, and just I love traveling. Even in my off season, I always make an effort to go somewhere. So even this year, I went to Dubai
Mhm.
for like 5 years. The year before, I went to Marbella. I've been to like so many places, and I just love the feeling of traveling.
Yeah, for sure. Do you ever kind of get what you would call like homesick? Do you miss home, or do you feel like you're sort of?
Funny because one of my training partners asked me that the other day, like, do I get homesick? And honestly, not really. I think because my family makes such an effort, friends and family, to come and see me
Mhm.
when I'm away. They kind of like bring pieces of home, or I've got my dog with me a lot of the time. So I always feel like I've got my home comforts.
Yeah,
But I think at the minute, because I know this is what I do and it's what I signed up for, I'm happy to just be where I have to be to kind of get the job done. So I wouldn't say I get homesick, but like as I said before, coming home for the week over Christmas, that's nice to just get a little refresher. And then no, you've got to go again on a camp for how many weeks or months. But homesick, not really. I'm always on FaceTime, always catching up with the family, friends. I love it. People make the effort to come out and see me, and that means a lot. So not too bad.
yeah, for sure. Like I can definitely relate to that. Like when I was kind of 9, 10, I lived in Australia for a little bit, and so this is back in the early '90s. So it's literally if you want to speak to somebody from back home, you're either paying, I don't know what it would be, like £3 a minute for a phone call, or
Yeah.
you're posting a letter and you're waiting 6 weeks to get a response. But obviously with things like FaceTime and WhatsApp and stuff, I live abroad now, obviously, and then like being able to stay in contact with people back home is so much
Where do you
easier.
live now?
But I live in Texas now, so I'm in Houston at the
Huh,
moment. Um,
nice.
so yeah, I kind of, I guess like a little bit like you, I enjoy traveling. I enjoy kind of seeing what the world has to offer. And I think it's, from my perspective, I think that like with a lot of the problems in the world, it's just a lack of exposure to other cultures, and not necessarily even knowing the culture, but having an awareness that there are different cultures and there are different ways of
Yeah,
doing things. If people kind of just understood and accepted that, then I think like it would
honestly.
make the
I
world a better
think I
place.
literally agree. I feel like we live in a world where everyone's so judgmental and wants to project their standards onto other people. And it's like
Hmm.
when you do get the chance to travel and see different things and see how different people live, you realize, wow, there's so many more ways to do the same thing. And I think that translates into so many other things.
Yeah.
Even like sport, relationships, and just anything, you can kind of look at things with a different point of view and be like, actually, it's okay to do something differently. You can still have a good result at the end. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's something I love. And yeah, I think it's important if you are able to travel as much as possible and just experience different things. There's just so much out
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with that. I fully agree with
there.
that. So obviously I wanted to kind of talk to you about kind of your training and your background as an athlete. So are you able to tell us a little bit kind of growing up, has it always been
Yeah.
athletics, or was there other sports that you played?
Yeah.
And
It's always been athletics. Well, I would say that I was about 2 or 3, and just one of these stories, you probably hear them all the time, athletes going for races. And so my uncle was like, let's go to the park. I raced my older cousins, did a race, killed them basically. And he came back home that day and was like to my mum, you've got an Olympic sprinter there, like you've got an Olympic athlete. I was very young, so she's always told me this story.
Right.
But growing up through like primary school, I was always winning sports days and stuff like this. My mum was always trying to take me down to my local track, Ladywell, but they would always refuse me because I was too young.
Right.
No, bring her back when she's 8, or bring her back when she's 9, whatever. So then finally I think it was my year 6 sports day, I was scouted by a coach, a late coach now, he passed away. He was about 85 when he passed, I think. But he's Alan Portard, and he was like the local coach of Ladywell athletics track.
Okay.
And he kind of scouted me. In primary school, I was training Tuesdays and Thursdays type thing. And then he passed away. We moved a bit further into South London, and then I started training at Sutcliffe Park, where I started training with Mick Bond. That was up until my kind of college times, which is then when I met Jonas Tawia, and I went to Oaklands College,
right,
where I met quite the majority of the people I know now in track and field from like a London, UK side, is where I met them at that college. So that was when I was about 16, 17, I think, maybe a bit older. I probably get my dates wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll know like Graham Beasley. You know Graham Beasley? He was a lecturer there, so he's good friends with Ryan Freckleton. And
really?
So, yeah,
I know Ryan really well.
Yeah, so he worked at Oakland, and Daniel Oderinde, he's somebody from my club that went to.
Yeah, I was just talking to Daniel the other day, because he's now got a perfume line. He does oud.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
So he sent me a nice little package. I'm wearing it now actually, and yeah, I posted that on my socials the other day. So check his oud out, because it's really good.
Plug in.
But yeah, so I met Daniel, Reese, Amma, Pippi, like so many people that I'm close with now, at that college stage. And then I stayed with Jonas with Speedworks until 2019. Doha. Was this the question, by the way? Have I just gone on a tangent?
We're sort of like, I'll tell you what, we're sort of like jumping onto the next question, which is fine. But before can I just backpedal and just say, were there any other sports that you played when you were growing up through school, or was it?
It's funny because this is going to sound weird, but I wasn't the sportiest child. I didn't love sport. I was good at athletics and, training 2 times a week type thing, but I didn't love sport. I was very like, when I was younger, more teenage, wanted to be out with my friends, wanted to do this, wanted to do that. So I was made to stay on this path, and so happy I did. But my family were very supportive, and they always encouraged me that you can be really great at this if you do X, Y, and Z. So that's kind of when I made the leap to go to Oaklands. But in my younger days, I tried a few things. I tried horse riding. Right. I loved that, but the horses were so big and scary. At one point, I was like, this is just too much. I love the idea of it, but the actuality was like quite scary. So I tried that for a bit. I tried judo or taekwondo, one of those.
Okay.
An after school club type thing at one point. And my mom had me doing street dance.
Right.
And I absolutely hated it. But I was good, but I just didn't like the idea of dancing. Like, she was like, you can do it, like you're really good. And I remember we had this massive performance one day, and I knew all the moves, but just to like throw a tantrum, I literally did all the moves like this. Like, no effort.
Okay.
On a live concert, and my mum was like, that's it. So she took me out. I was like, I'm not doing it anymore, I don't want to do dance. So now I just kind of stuck with the running, and I'm happy I did, because I love it.
Okay, all right, for sure. So like kind of coming back then to where we were before, so kind of you're going through Oaklands, you're with Jonas, and you obviously had a lot of domestic success as a junior athlete. Then you can fact check me on this if I'm wrong, but like, so you 4th at the European under-23s in 2015, is that right? And so kind of through this era as a junior, and kind of going into an under-23 athlete, how seriously would you say you were taking the sport? Like, how many times per week you were training?
With Jonas, I was doing more than like the, because obviously before him, it was more of a 2 days a week thing, Tuesday, Thursday, maybe a Saturday, and that was more locally. And then when I joined Speedworks, I think I stayed with Jonas for about 4 years.
So you was like 16, 17, kind of once you started with Jonas. Is that sort of right? Once you started at Oakland's with Jonas?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So it was about at the minute, I can't remember anything. So my dates and facts are going to be.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just trying to, like, I guess, like, so once you got to, let's call it college age. So once you got to college age, you shifted from like a 2 to 3 day a week type training
to a
setup.
more professional environment. Yeah, I know it was good training with Jonas because he had more of a structure and it felt more professional. And I mean, his athletes were doing great. He had CJ run sub. Yeah, the group was amazing, kind of training with those guys, being in London, Lee Valley, and then we moved to Loughborough in 2018, I think, after the 2017 World Championships. Jonas made the move to Loughborough from London, so I was living in Loughborough for a couple of years, and that was fun. But then
your face is telling a different story there. What was it fun? Did you like? I know that, like,
I didn't love
Loughborough. Some people hate it.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, I didn't love living in Loughborough.
Okay.
But it was amazing kind of getting my first apartment, learning how to live on my own.
Okay.
And I don't know, I think it was just a very transitional period for me. London 2017, I had made the semi-final in the London World Championships. Won my heat, the 100-meter heat, came fourth in my semi. 2018 in Berlin, I didn't do very well. I think I was just not having a great year. I was pretty injured. Then 2019, I came fourth in my semi-final again, Doha. And then after that is when I decided, okay, I feel like I need to make a change because I just don't want to be coming fourth in my semi-finals in the 100 meters. I believe I should be in the final. I believe I'm a finalist. I'm better than what I'm doing. Sorry, got a FaceTime.
No problem.
I knew it was going to happen. But so yeah, that's when I decided to make the move to Florida, which is where I was coached by Raina.
Okay. And was there a lot of difference between what you were doing back in the UK training wise and what you were doing in Florida training wise? Was it sort of?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it stepped up. It was a good experience, you know, like going to a group with so many professional athletes who have won medals, won Olympic Games, just completely new level. And that was amazing to kind of make that jump and be training in that environment. The program was crazy, nothing like I'd experienced before. And it was just a completely different experience. Again, living on my own, but in a brand new country this time. I'd moved from London to Loughborough, which was a big jump. But then to move from Loughborough to Florida with an Uber account, and that's it, and a suitcase, it was kind of like, whoa. But I knew I needed to make that jump because I wanted to be at the next championships with a coach that was at the championships. That was my thing. So because it was always kind of tricky to kind of get an accreditation for Jonas at that time and stuff like this. So I just knew I wanted to be with a coach that was definitely going to be there. So when I was in Doha, I spoke to the coaches that were there and I was like, well, these are the ones that are here. Yeah.
I didn't realize Jonas wasn't in Doha. Right. Okay. Yeah. I can imagine that's quite challenging.
Due to whatever the kind of reasons were. And I was like, I just don't want to go to another championships and not have my coach there. How am I gonna, it's just not professional. So at that point I was like, I think what I've done with Jonas has been great up until this point, but I want to make a change. So yeah, I spoke to him in Doha and he said, yeah, he'll coach me. So I headed to Florida and yeah, it was good. It was good to go there and have the experience I did. Yeah. Obviously I left due to various reasons, which we don't need to get into.
We're not going to. There's no plan.
The experience was great and respect where it's due. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't make that move. So I learned so much. Technically, mentally, it was a very different environment, but I'm definitely happy I did it. I met some amazing people and athletes and who I'm still super close with up until today. Yeah. But yeah, it's just part of my journey and it was fun at the time.
So, I mean, so from my perspective, like, as an outsider looking in, like, say, kind of, you've been on the scene. I've probably known about you since around 2015, and like you say, you come fourth in the semi-finals at a couple of world championships. Kind of sort of see you bubbling away, and then the pandemic happens, and then you kind of come out the other side of the pandemic, and I mean, 2021, like you kind of blew up that year. So
Yeah.
are there sort of any factors that you can sort of attribute that performance increase to?
Yeah, I would say that honestly, the year of 2020,
Mhm.
it was the pandemic and it was hard for all of us, but I was going through a lot personally as well.
Okay.
So I had so much time on my own that year to kind of ask myself so many questions. I was spending hours in the parks with my new dog that I had, just talking to myself, kind of like, what am I doing? Where am I going? I had joined this new camp, but I needed to really believe and kind of get in tune with my mind. And I did that. I spent that whole year of 2020 just affirming what I want to do, being super locked in, kind of channeling my new focus, and just telling myself, this is it. Like, this is my chance. 2020, this Olympic Games, I need to be in that final. I've got no option. That's how I saw it. And I just when I went back to the camp after the pandemic in that year, I went back on a mission and I wasn't playing. I said, I'm in that final. I'm in it. So it was the best environment for me to be in. I was with, one of the best coaches, training with the best training partners, and I felt like I've got the tools. Let me execute now, because I'd been doing it for so long, as I said, coming forth in so many world championships, having a taste of what it could be like, not quite being there. And I was like, no, I have to just do it now. That's it.
So would you say then that it's more so than like the X's and O's of training that kind of facilitated that progression? It was, I don't know if there's a mental switch is the right way to say it, but like as in just an increase, like you've upped your level of focus.
Yeah, there was a huge mental switch, but obviously the training that I was doing was just night and day to what I'd done before. I probably entered that camp on a training age of not very high, and then was able to learn how to train really like a pro athlete, watch medalists train, have conversations with world champions, Olympic champions. If being inspired by so many people every day, me being there like, well, I know I have the potential. What's different? Let me just do what I'm being told, and go with it. And I think I was just so mentally in that place to accept that. I feel like, yes, as athletes, we can train and we can do so many things, but if you're not mentally ready or kind of locked into what you're trying to do, it's hard to like make it work. So I feel like for me, I was just really on a mission, and I was in the right place. I had a great training program, and yeah.
So kind of my final questions, I guess, related to that. Do you think if 2020 had been like a regular year, do you think we'd have seen like we have seen like the 2021 version of you a year earlier? Obviously, I know there were competitions. I know you ran in Monaco that year, and there were like a few meets, but obviously it was a weird season.
And I think did I come last in Monaco? Do you know? Have you seen that?
I can't remember off the top.
Sorry,
I watched it the other day, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I should remember really, but that whole year of racing was just for me and for everybody really. But I think we would have definitely seen an improvement, because as I said, I was completing sessions that I've never done, like the long endurance sessions, and just not being allowed to be a baby anymore. I think that's what it was. Once you go to America and you decide to do one of those programs, that's it. You got to be tough. And I think that's what it was. And it was such a good environment, as I said, being around all those athletes, kind of watching how they've done it and being like, wow, okay, I'm pretty sure I got a crack at this. Like, I can do it. I can do it. And I think I was just enjoying it. And I think we would have definitely seen an improvement technically, because I cleaned up so much. And Raina did a lot of work in terms of like my technique and my strength and my power and stuff like this. But I think it was just a great mixture of feeling mentally ready for it, and then being in a much, I would say, more advanced program.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of just touching on that point that you made about being inspired, like I can 100% imagine, like if I walk into a room and there's a sprinter there, I'm like all giggly and just sort of like, oh my god, like it's like the energy is kind of infectious, and I feel inspired just being in the presence of that. So like turning up in that kind of every day. And also I can imagine there's an element of like in order to hold my own in this session, I'm gonna need to work hard. It's sort of like
No, I yeah, because when I entered the camp, 2019, that camp, I was the slowest girl.
right.
They were all sub 11 runners. It was 10-7, 10-9, 10-9, and then me 11-12.
Right.
So I'm going in there like, okay, I've got work to do, you know. So I had no choice. I
Yeah.
was lucky to even really be accepted into the camp. The standard's so high. So yeah, I had to work. And I had to believe that I can do it. That
Yeah.
was really, I had to believe that I am it before I'd even done it. I had to believe that I was a sub 11 sprinter before I'd run sub 11. I had to,
Yeah.
because that's the way you're going to do it. So yeah.
Yeah. All right.